So for a while now, randomly, I've targeted it down to what I think it is, and I'll tell you in a second. But for a while now, I would just get random headaches, and the only way for me to cure them, which I figured out and it's very effective, is ibuprofen. Any other medication except for I don't know what it's called, but it's this powdered. It's like I don't know. It's a mixture of aspirin and all this stuff, and it's in a powdered little tube, and you put it under your tongue and all that. That helps too. But I prefer ibuprofen, so I take about 3 pills of ibuprofen, and then I get my whole room completely dark, and then I turn on, even in the winter, I turn on the air conditioning to get it really cold, and then I have a really heavy, not just thick, but also weight heavy blanket, and I'll put on my sleeping mask, and I'll get my dog with me because it's going to be cold in the room, but the dog is warm and it makes the blankets warm. Anyways, so we all cuddle up, and I take a nap, and then about an hour after I fall asleep, I'll wake up and it's all gone. So it's not too bad. The only time so far in the past few years that it prevented me from doing something was I was driving and went to Kroger, and my headache was too bad. I had to go home and take a nap. So I didn't go to Kroger. I went later that day after I took a nap, but so it wasn't too bad. So I'm not saying this is, oh, I'm terrible with these headaches and it's debilitating. It's not debilitating. It's a nuisance, but I've learned, and this is why I'm buying this. I called it a barometer, but it's really a barometer. But I bought it because from my analysis, I believe my headaches come due to pressure change. Uh, because I have allergies in the fall. Tree pollen gets me in the fall, and a little bit in the spring, but not too bad. But it's the middle of winter, so it's not pollen. Uh, and I can't, like, there's other things that cause me headaches. Like sometimes I love candle wax melts where you melt it and the scent goes and there's no flame, so it's not as dangerous. Uh, I love that. In some sense, do give me headaches, but overall, I believe it's the barometer, the barometer, uh, that will show me that my headaches are due to pressure change. So I got this one. There is a ton of them. Most of them are very expensive, but I looked for the cheapest one, and it looks like I can move that arrow to where it is. So if I get a headache, I can go look at it and see where it was, and I'll take notes and everything. So yeah. With that said, I love my life. I love that I don't have to work, but working for me keeps me busy. And with that said, I love that I can go to bed around 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning and sleep as long as I want naturally. Normally, I wake up around 1, but I actually took a little bit more of a sleeping medication just because I wanted to get some extra rest. So, and I'm not saying I'm not allowed to do that. I have an option between 1 or 2, and I chose 2. So, with that said, I slept until 4 o'clock in the afternoon or evening, whatever you want to call it. So, guess who's going to be up tonight? And I'm fine with that. I don't have a schedule I have to adhere to. I'm free of being told where I need to be. And that is why, if I do get a job to keep me busy, I am only going to accept a job that is fully remote. I don't want to go to no Taco Bell or a hospital or really anywhere to work. No way. I've evolved above that. So for me personally, I'm good just living my life, not going to work and doing whatever you do. Uh, I'm fine with being able to just travel. I don't travel outside the city, but because I only like to go with people. I there was only one time in my life, thinking back to it, that I traveled without someone, and that was literally from my house to Indianapolis, where I met someone, and then we drove to Salt Lake City. Yes, drove. That was a crazy. I should make a YouTube about that too. That dude, he lived in Indianapolis. He's psychotic, but he wanted to apply for an airlines in. I forgot what airlines it was, but he went. The interview was in Salt Lake City. So for some reason, he thought that if he drove there, it would show his dedication more. And there's a whole lot of stories. I want to recreate that trip. It was an amazing trip. Like, it was very dangerous for me because I didn't know him. he could have really done anything and thrown me on the side of the road. It's like crazy. Like I was very protected by Mary, but still, it was a very dangerous trip. But it all went well. It was beautiful. My favorite part of that trip, and this is what I want to recreate, is we were driving down I-70. I know that's not the right road. We took the wrong turn and went south more instead of upwards. But we took I-70, and it was between Kansas and Denver. And uh, basically, he was driving most of the way. And I'm not going to get into the whole drama and the panic that we had on the road. I'll make that in another video. But my favorite memory that goes back to even my childhood is riding in a car. In that instance, it was riding in a car with him driving and me pressing my face up against the window, which was cold, and looking up at the stars. And that goes back to my childhood, because my whole childhood, my family would travel, normally drive everywhere. And so, like, we didn't drive to California, but I think the furthest, we didn't go really far. We went more like up to New York and down to Florida. But anyways, I always remember my dad driving, usually, and like, he would like to drive through, not through the night, but at least till about midnight. And then I just remember it being a night, like, and I had a mammal who I loved, and I would always look at the moon and think that that same moon that's shining on me is shining on her. And I just remember putting my face up against the window, it being cold, and looking up at the stars. So I'm sure whenever I pass away, a memory I will relive is riding in a dark car with the dark around us on the road, and me having my face pressed against a cold window as everything goes by me. And I look up at the stars and then see the moon, sometimes through the trees rushing by us, and I know that I'll be okay.